Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, campaigning has kicked off a day after the Premier announced a snap election. The government and Labor used the first day on the trail battling over who will lift businesses out of the COVID slump.
Hoping to start his campaign on the right foot.
We take a few steps to secure Tasmania's future.
The Premier insists the economy is waking from its COVID coma.
What's really pleasing in the Tasmanian economy at the moment is that we've bounced back. Growth in January was around 9% in retail trade.
Store owner Robert Luck is seeing the shift in trade.
12 months ago things looked pretty bad, but fortunately with government assistance we've been able to pull through.
Assistance that ends tomorrow when the Commonwealth's job seeker support finally ends. Peter Gutwin has been accused of sticking the boot into businesses who still need it.
Peter Gutwin's gone to the polls early to avoid dealing with the catastrophic fallout from JobKeeper ending, which is going to put so many more thousands of Tasmanians into the unemployment queues.
Accommodation operator Liz Virtue says the pain is far from over.
I feel like I'll be dropping off a cliff on Monday and going into our quietest time of the year.
JobKeeper was there as a temporary support. And as we've heard from this business, they needed it for a short period of time and then were able to step off it.
Both sides are preparing to announce their candidates. The Premier is tight-lipped on whether he'd welcome back former MP Adam Brooks.
I speak to Adam Brooks regularly, but again, as I've said, these are matters for the party and matters for Mr Brooks.
There's still no word on if independent Madeline Ogilvie will join the government. Her former Labor colleagues aren't hiding their feelings.
She's not only turned her back on the party that got her there, but she's flipped to the other side. That would be a terrible betrayal of those voters in Clark.
Meanwhile, the Greens are demanding more information on who's pumping cash into campaigns. The Liberal Party will publish all donations above $5,000.
The fact is that since the 2018 state election, about $10.2 million has poured into Liberal and Labor Party coffers.
Information, she argues, should be revealed. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Health and housing are set to dominate the state election, with lobby groups saying critical shortages in those industries are driving many to breaking point. With the state's public housing waiting list growing by the day and hundreds of vacancies for nurses, unions are searching for solutions.
Two of Tasmania's major sectors are desperately crying out for help.
They are struggling with the fact that there would be almost nearly 500 vacant positions across the Tasmanian Health Service.
There's 3,800 people now on the public housing waiting list. We need up to 4,000 properties to ensure that everybody has a roof over their head.
The Tenants Union says new builds are only part of the solution.
Regulating Airbnb and the short-term accommodation sector will return thousands of properties to the long-term rental market. And we believe that should be put in place while we build the 4,000 properties we need.
Critical shortages felt by the health service too.
They need that injection of funding to fill those positions, and they need the funding to be able to support those additional resources that are now needed because there hasn't been a strategic plan to fill those gaps in the past.
The Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation says investing in training is also crucial.
Putting in resources to support those early career nurses by way of clinical nurse educators and clinical coaches to make sure that they have the support that they need in the clinical environment so that they don't too burn out and leave the profession early.
Health at the forefront of many Tasmanians' minds.
Particularly a focus on aged care and hospitals as well. I think there needs to be a lot more resources, particularly for looking after our elderly people.
I'd like to see a definite increase in education spending, and then of course health for us all.
A hospital, really.
Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, return travellers who have been in hotspot areas of Brisbane and Moreton Bay will have to self-isolate and contact public health. Anyone intending to travel to Tasmania will not be allowed into the state if they have visited these areas. A full list of hotspot locations can be found online. Rotarians across the state have converged on Launceston this weekend to celebrate 100 years of Rotary in Australia and New Zealand. Rotary Tasmania hosting its annual conference to honour the organisation's milestone birthday with a range of inspirational speakers, including voiceover artist Robin Moore.
Because when you are being the best of yourself, you inspire people everywhere to be the best of themselves.
We have looked at the last 100 years and how resilient we had to be to actually last that long. We wanted an inspiring conference to make people walk out the door and realise that we have to do things differently, and we have to understand that we need to be resilient to get to another 100 years.
There are 46 Rotary clubs across Tasmania. Launceston could be in line for even more NBL games next month when the New Zealand Breakers visit Tasmania. The state government has confirmed it is holding discussions with the NBL around opportunities to play further fixtures at the Silver Dome, with sources saying the state could see up to 10 matches. 4 games have been confirmed, with the first to be held on April 6th when the Breakers host the Adelaide 36ers. Olympia has recorded its first win of the NPL Tasmania season, defeating Riverside Olympic 3-2. In a seesawing contest, Riverside fought back from 2-0 down before a late goal gave the Warriors a vital win.
Olympia and Riverside both lost their opening matches last week, so today was an early crunch game. The Warriors breaking the deadlock in the 18th minute. Austin Yost with the clinical finish. They made it 2 just before half-time, a searching ball finding Kyle Vincent, who danced around the keeper. Riverside striking back early in the second half after being awarded a penalty. Will Humphrey making no mistake from the spot. They then levelled in the 70th minute from a set piece. That lead lasted just 7 minutes, with Vincent grabbing his second of the game. Olympia holding on and getting its season back on track. Elsewhere, 2 first-round winners, Devonport and South Hobart, battled it out at Valley Road. After a dour first half, South Hobart took the lead just before the hour after winning a penalty. Nick Morton, the eventual scorer. The Strikers almost snatched a point right at the end, but were denied by the keeper. South too good for the reigning champions, putting the rest of the league on notice. In the cricket, Tim Payne has scored a century in the Premier League Grand Final, the National Test captain bringing it up in style. Tim Ward also making 181 not out, as Uni eventually declared on 4 for 473. In reply, North Hobart started poorly, with Bradley Smith gone for just 2. Patrick Page reached 30 before being removed by a Jaffa. Tassie Tigers' Jordan Silk and Caleb Jewell leading the fight back, as North Hobart looked to get back in the game. And in the netball, the Northern Hawks opened their 2021 account with a win over Cripps, leading 19-12 at quarter time. Last year's champions extended the lead at every change, eventually winning 62 goals to 43. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. 20 was the state's top across Launceston and Devonport today. Hobart and Burnie reaching 19. 18 across King Island and Low Head, Lyowini 13 and 19 at Smithton. On the close-up, a frontal cloud band with embedded thunderstorms clears the east coast of Tasmania during the early afternoon. Further out, cloud is seen over central and northern Australia with thunderstorm activity. Tomorrow shows cold fronts approaching Tasmania with a high dominating weather to the north of the state. Westerly winds tomorrow 10 to 20 knots, swells up to 2.5 metres in the west and south and below 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for northern coastal waters from Stanley to the northern tip of Flinders, and for eastern, southern and western coastal waters from Wanglass Bay to Sandy Cape. A moderate flood warning is current for the South Esk River and a minor flood warning for the Macquarie River and the Lower Meander River. Tomorrow's forecast now, a shower or 2 across Hobart and Ouse, Richmond 21. In the north, Launceston 21, a possible showers about Devonport and Deloraine. Showers at Strawn tomorrow 19 across Burnie and Curry. St Helens and Swansea, partly cloudy, and Whitemark 19. The UV forecast is moderate 5s across the state for tomorrow. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast: Monday, fine apart from light showers about the west and far south. Tuesday, fine apart from showers about the west. And Wednesday, light showers about the west, mostly fine elsewhere. Capital city, sunny and 30 in Perth tomorrow. Melbourne, partly cloudy and 25 in Sydney. And currently Hobart 15 and partly cloudy, Launceston 16 and Devonport 16 and partly cloudy. That's all for weather tonight.
And that's all your news now for this Saturday evening. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.